and good day. Welcome back to Brunch on a Wednesday. We're in beautiful Scarborough, Tobago. I can't tell you how lovely it is to be here. And thank you for tuning in and for staying with us for the entire time. We had some amazing guests, but our last guest today is going to be Dr. Rhoda Reddock. And she is the director of let me tell you, the Developing Art and Design Awareness. That's DADA. And they're looking to transform our derelict and unused community spaces. You know, as you walk around in a community, sometimes you see an area with big bush, you see, a derelict house, an unused space, and they're wanting to transform these spaces from that current status and situation into something that's productive, usable, inspirational, right? Using art and design. And we're going to be speaking to her virtually today about those things. Hi, Dr. Reddock. Hi.
Hi, good day. Great to be on your program and wish I was in Tobago in person, of
We
course.
wish you were here as well, Tobago. We're having some lovely weather. How is the weather in Trinidad?
Well, there was a little rain this morning, but the sun is out and it's not too hot yet.
Okay, yes, that's exactly what is happening in Tobago. We're getting some nice, cool, overcast weather, really
Mhm.
helpful because I tell you, the sun is different. It's really different.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So
Yes.
tell us about this program that y'all are doing, this event, right? And it's called Social Art and Design, right? And y'all are going to be having some public spaces. You're talking about public spaces and community spaces being transformed. Tell us about that and explain to us why that is an important, why you all found it was something important that you all should do.
Sorry. Yes, well, I just wanted to say that our organization has been in existence for many years. And as you will understand, that subject area is not one where there's been a lot of public discussion or debate. Yet, all of us, as we walk around, we are a very creative society. A lot of our creativity, for example, in the carnival, is on the human body. And actually, our symposium will be addressing that as well. But we wanted to look at the way in which art can move outside of the gallery and become part of our everyday life, our everyday spaces. And you were mentioning the situation of occupations for writers, artists also. This can also diversify the opportunities for artists to intervene into our social and community spaces. And we believe that this is important not only because we want it to look aesthetically beautiful, but also because it's good for our well being, it's therapeutic.
What you're saying is true. It is important for our well being and for our mental status. And as a community, it's some people are able to exist in some chaotic spaces, and it's only when they see order and function happening they realize how important it is to them personally, how much better they are functioning as an individual. And that's what we want to make sure people understand, that these spaces are not being transformed just for the hell of it, right? You aren't going through all of this work just because you feel to do it. It really has some basic scientific grounding in how we function as human beings, being able to be in good functional spaces. So when they are walking around in their community and experiencing their community, the place is well organized. There's function and functionality in the community and the spaces that we create, even the community centers, right? And we want to look at that. And your program is really bringing that to light and using art, not just saying build good spaces, but using art. Yeah?
Yes, because what we also want to do is we want to involve communities in designing spaces. So often, the design for the space comes from above, it's imposed. Sometimes what is imposed is not usable. What is imposed might be designed by not local artists or local art designers, but imported designs How do we incorporate our indigenous creativity into these designs? How do we make these spaces our own? In other words, many parts of the world are beginning to look just like each other. I think Tobago still has a lot of that indigenous beauty, its landscapes, etc. So we would like to enhance that. We would like also to enhance a consciousness among contractors, technocrats, agencies like the Tobago House of Assembly, the local authorities and borough councils in Trinidad and Tobago, even the ministries of works, all of these people who have to construct. How are communities involved in the design of things that are constructed? For example, are our spaces fit for persons with disabilities? Do we have public spaces where the elderly can go out,
Yes.
probably with children? All our public spaces, football fields. In other words, how do we enhance not only the environment within our homes, but in our societies and communities?
Hmm. Dr. Reddock, you hit on some very important points. And what I heard is that each community has a unique way of expressing themselves and of being. And you all want to encapsulate that. You all want to, make sure that that is kept. We don't want to whitewash it by making all spaces look and feel the same. But we want to make sure the communities, Caribbean communities, right, even the local communities and villages, keep that distinctive space
Mhm.
and what is distinctive to them, right? And I love that because, we have a lot of personal history and heritage that's unique to communities and the Caribbean space. And I also heard you say two important things. I heard you say two words of great importance to me: disabled and seniors. We don't pay attention enough to them. Tell me what your spaces and what this project you all are doing may be addressing that issue of the disabled, making sure that these spaces are encouraging for them to come out and to use, right? And they're not just functional, but they're fun as well for disabled and seniors. Could you speak on that for me in terms of those two areas?
Yes, well, as part of the symposium, we'll be discussing the art design proposals of Dean Allen, an artist, and Sean Leonard, an architect, and using that as a jumping off point for a larger discussion on public space and art in public spaces. And one of their big designs was for a play space in the Tacarigua Savannah. And in
Mm.
building that, in the design of that space, they looked at how, for example, the needs of the elderly and the needs of children could be brought together in that space. For example, of grandparents taking out grandchildren, how that play space could afford connectivity for both generations. It looked at, for example, in the facility, in the use of the design of the play items, that disabled children could use those play items as well, that the toilets that are developed would be useful for children and
Mm-hmm.
children, adults, the elderly with disabilities, but also to do it in a way that builds on the indigenous creativity of the community. So it's a design that involves all of this. For example, that Takarigo design also included replanting the area with indigenous species, which is not something we often think of. But we have a lot of imported species, and sometimes imported species affect, for example, the water table and other aspects of the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
So that we wanted to so that brings in environmental sustainability. We were also trying to create the spaces also along a highway. We wanted to put a green fence that could help to remove some of the pollutants coming from the roadside into the play space that we plan to construct. So, in other words, it's a kind of multifaceted way in which art could be integrated into community sustainability, community play and entertainment, as well as community well being. and
Mm-hmm.
being therapeutic as well.
I really love that. And I'll tell you what I really love from what you said. It was the idea that using these open spaces close to roadways and transportation areas, you will come into contact with pollutants. And how do we mitigate for that? Right? You know, running along the course that's close to a roadway, you're going to get some kind of smoke and smog coming from cars, right? And how do you mitigate against smelling and having to ingest that right while you're exercising? And I love that you have thought of that in terms of, you know, what can we put in place to make sure there's some kind of filter, right? We keep the air quality high.
And
Mm-hmm.
these could be designed, they could have landscape architecture. So it's not just functional, it's functional and beautiful as
Yes.
well.
And
And I think
fun.
this is one. So there's another aspect of the work we do. We also want to work with young people, using art as therapy, using art as a way of, and craft, because I think we have neglected craft development for many decades. There were indigenous crafts that some of our ancestors brought. There were
Yes.
crafts that the indigenous people had that were passed on. So there are all these indigenous craft that most of them have died. Some we can find and recreate, but also maybe refining our whole sense of craft, you know, to be something that is once more valued, that we would buy, not in that we would incorporate into our furniture, into our building design, into our hospital design, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Artists and artwork can go beyond the wall in your living room. They can be part of hospitals. They can be part of schools. They can be part of so many spaces. So it's
Mm-hmm.
to break our limited understanding of art and open up vistas for people who are artists. You spoke about the limitations of persons who are writers, but visual artists also. How do we expand this beyond just selling somebody a painting to put up in their house, which is very
Mm-hmm.
important, and many visual artists depend on that. But bringing art more part and parcel of our everyday life, enriching it and
Yes.
contributing to our well-being.
I love that. I mean, I keep saying I love that, but I do. I love everything you're saying because what I'm hearing from you is how do we allow people to utilize, keep in the space the heritage that we have, right? And the way we design things, basketry and basket weaving that the Amerindians used to squeeze the cassava and take out that liquid that they would ferment, right? Using the dirt oven, what you call architecture, mixing that
Yes,
dirt with the
exactly.
grass, making the dirt oven walls. Those are things that kind of design for that oven was really a convection oven. And that's something you can do at your homes. We have a lot of air conditions around, and it's because we're not using our local knowledge of how materials in the tropics can mitigate heat, right? And keep things cool longer and keep things warm when we need them to be warm, and that's what we're not doing, and I'm hearing that that's what you're saying.
Yes, because we're also looking at what they call materiality. What materials do you use? And concrete is not the best material for us. And what you point out there, that adobe, which, or what we used to call tapia, there are countries that build all their modern houses out of that
Mm-hmm.
material, that you said, that keeps warmth in when and cool when necessary. And that was our traditional, and we got rid of it and we brought concrete, which means now we have to have air conditioners. And now
Yes.
the concrete doesn't breathe, so we have more allergies and all of that. But as you say, we have designers. Those indigenous technologies that we don't value can be redesigned, you know can for contemporary use.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also having faith in our ability our creativity. And so if you have to get a new building, we don't have to look and see what Architectural Digest has to say. That our architects and artists
Yep.
can look at what we have to say, what we need, and how our ancestors had thought about these things.
Yes. This is such an important symposium. I don't want you to leave without giving us the details, the when, the where,
Yes.
the who, and the what. So tell us about that.
Yes, thank you very much. So it takes place at the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago in Port of Spain from the 16th to the 18th. And I know some Tobagonians have been invited.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we, it, but everyone, it's open to everyone. Unfortunately, it's not being live streamed, but we plan to produce a composite video after. So the official opening takes place on Thursday evening from 6 p.m. And we have a distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Bonaventure So Bijeng and Dikang, who is a German Cameroonian and
Hmm.
currently the director of the House of World Cultures in Berlin. He has already arrived and he'll be speaking at the opening on Thursday evening. And he'll also be giving a lecture at the University of the West Indies Department of Creative and Festival Arts on Saturday evening at 5:30 p.m. That's the 18th. So uh, we hope that the Tobagonians we have invited will be attending. I can say that Dr. Charleston Thomas has agreed to be on one session where we look at festivals and carnival as art in public spaces,
Mm,
because a lot of that art was is on our bodies, but we want it to be more.
yes.
First of all, we want to go back to where we are creating it and not buying it from China, but also we want
Mm-hmm.
to see that in other aspects of our lives as well. Plus, we
Yes.
have issues to deal with that as well.
Mm.
So
Thank you so
everyone
much.
is welcome. Yes,
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Reddock, for that. This is an important symposium, and hopefully, we can even do some partnerships where we have that same type of symposium in Tobago with our Tobago.
definitely.
There's the Tobago Historical Society,
Yeah.
as well as we have Dr. Rita Pemberton. She's a renowned historian, published author, and writer, and she really knows, the history of some of these, as you call it, indigenous architecture and what, So partnerships we love. So I would love if that could be something we do here at some point.
And
Yeah.
Tobago also has artists and creative persons, architects, and just general members of the public like me
Yes.
who would like to see things differently.
Yes, we love it. Snaps for that.
So,
I found this
so we
such
look
an
forward to that
interesting
collaboration
conversation.
in the future. I know Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Pemberton very well, and she's actually invited. I
Yes.
hope she is attending. Yes.
I hope she can. I know she's in recovery. As they say in Trinidad and Tobago,
Oh,
nobody give me no
right.
message, right? But I hope she is, able to come because I know she's in recovery. So that
Okay,
would be
right.
something fantastic for her
That
to
would
be
be a
involved
problem.
in. Thank you so
Yes.
much for being with us, Dr. Reddock.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
And guys, we have with us so many interesting guests from Trinidad, from Tobago, writers, authors, dietitians, nutritionists, all sorts of fantastic things. But we don't want to forget that trivia question. So we don't have any right answers. Nobody guessed who it was because probably nobody went to the Googler and typed it in. Name of the first man who swam from Tobago to Trinidad, right? And somebody asked me, you know, they thought they had the right answer. Is Mr. Duke? No, it's not Mr. Duke. I'm so sorry. We have, the right answer is Raymond Lacroix. He was the first person to swim between Tobago and Trinidad. And he was also on the team of the second person who was swimming from Tobago to Trinidad, Johnny Prokop. And Mr. Lacroix was the first person to attempt it. And I don't think he actually got to Trinidad because of the weather conditions and the sea conditions, but he got far, right? And I think we should be in the Guinness Book of Records, both Mr. Lacroix and Johnny Crookup. Just throwing it out there, Guinness. If you're listening and watching the show, come check our people out, please, and put them in that Guinness Book of Record because they're doing some great things. We want to thank you for tuning in with us today. It was Brunch, a special edition of Brunch because Janelle isn't here with you today. We want to thank you for welcoming me into your homes. I know Janelle, Miss J Soul is the one who is here doing it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and she'll be back with us soon. But until then, keep tuning in, keep publishing your books, keep writing your books, keep contacting each other, checking on each other, being good to each other. We're a community of love, diverse ethnicities, creeds, races, of all kinds and beliefs. Love each other, take care of each other, be good to each other, and we'll be back with you on Friday, when we have another edition of Brunch.